Hello, my friends, and welcome back. I got the honor the other day to sit down with two of the Classic WoW devs to talk about Mists of Pandaria Classic, and it went way better than expected, as you will find out soon. Today, we have two fan favorites of the devs with us, okay? But I kind of messed up my recording for the first 30 seconds or so, which happened to be Clayton Stone's introduction. He's the Associate Production Director for Classic, and he's done many of these interviews, including the one that I did last year with Cadence Classic. Anyways, my bad, and I hope you guys enjoy this, and I just wanted to put that in there to introduce him, even though you probably know who he is. Enjoy it.
Hello, everybody. I'm Aiden. A lot of people know me as Zirene. I'm a game designer on World of Warcraft Classic. I work on systems, and systems is pretty much a Classic. It encroaches on almost everything. So things from PvP, resources, PvE, class balance, things like that. Basically, everything except quests and encounters is really what I've had my hand in. So, yeah, really happy to be here and excited to talk to you, Crix.
Well, can I start with saying, what are you guys most excited about really quick? Like, what's one thing you can start, Zirene, the most right away? Number one thing you think of the most, besides your work, obviously, because you guys are making the game, so I know you want to see it flourish. But
honestly, I'm really excited about the raids because I haven't done them in a really long time. So seeing things like Heart of Fear and how people have been having a little bit of not a struggle with it, but it's definitely a pretty hard raid. I was looking at that and I was like, okay, this looks really fun. So I'm excited about the raids.
Yeah. Mr. Stone, what about you?
This is tough. It's like, not only do we have all of the amazing original content that's coming with this expansion, but we also have all of these different, what I consider to be very well considered quality of life changes coming not only to systems and not only to alt friendliness and PvP, but also to the classes. And so the first thing that comes to mind for me is I've never played a Mistweaver Monk. I'm very excited to try my hand at Mistweaver Monk. I hear about a little bit additional complexity to play the class, but really that complexity comes in with true mastery. And some of the changes that Aiden and the team brought to it, I'm excited to experience myself.
Yeah, I've been loving the little changes you made, which we'll get into a little bit because I'm a big Shadow Priest fan, and I wanted to main it the whole time because it's really fun. But, it wasn't doing that good, and then now you guys made it do pretty good, so I'm pretty happy. And now that's what I'm maining, so leave it alone. Anyway. A question you guys probably get asked a ton about that is, are you guys going to be making a bunch of more class changes, or is it kind of like you want to see is there going to be outliers? And if there are you adjusting to outliers and nerfing those outliers and bringing the bottom up, or are you allowed to divulge any of that?
Yeah, sure. I can talk a little bit about that. So our philosophy has basically been, we want to get people to a certain place, or we want to get specs to a certain place where we feel their utility and their damage all has a place inside of a raid. Obviously, you can't bring every single spec in the game because there's more than 25, but we want people to feel like they have a reason to be brought, and that when they're brought, they aren't like, oh, I could have brought this other class instead, which original Mists of Pandaria, playing on the final balance patch, looked like it was going to shape up that way with like Discipline Priests and Shamans. And overall, we did about 95-ish buffs, 8 or 9-ish adjustments, which are like, changing Mistweaver tier 15 to have the 4-piece having a different bonus because obviously it would be the same. And like 15 nerfs. But the nerfs are really targeted towards, especially outliers, like we were talking about with Shaman and Discipline Priest. And that's mostly because when you look at those classes, if we had brought everybody up to that level, because, I hear the community many times say, like, why don't you just buff everything instead of do nerfs? Because nerfs obviously don't feel great. Yeah. So this time we really did adopt that of like, let's do 95 plus buffs and let's only do a small amount of nerfs. But the reason that we did that and targeted those classes was because if we had brought everybody up to that level of all of the healers being the same as like Restoration Shaman, then you would just bring less healers. So if we had buffed all healers would kind of lose in a sense, where you would have 3 or 4 of them in a raid instead of up to 5. And we felt that wasn't that great for healer diversity, wanting to play things that weren't the number one spec, because obviously when you have more spots, there's more places that you could bring, like a Holy Paladin or a Restoration Druid. So we really wanted to be very targeted and conscientious about what we were doing with these nerfs when we did do them. That being said, if something becomes out of bounds when it's live, or like new tech is discovered, we obviously want to approach it in a manner where it's like, we don't want to rug pull people. We don't want them to feel like now they have to re-roll a class. If it is something that's egregious and like 10, 15% ahead of stuff, it's like, we will probably take the edge off it, but it will probably still remain the number one, because we don't want to do like giant changes where we make people feel like they have to re-roll in the middle of the phase. We're trying to avoid that completely. So yeah,
They go
to
hard on
answer your
one
question,
character too, right? And then all of a sudden,
exactly.
They quit people.
Exactly.
Quit.
So yeah. I mean, to some degree, some people wouldn't be that happy with it for sure. But to answer it directly, we are committed to doing some changes, but mostly before the phase starts. When it starts, we want to be as hands off as possible. But there are times that we would intervene because it's upsetting people, because it's like one spec is way too strong compared to everything else. And it's like, if you're impacting, because that's the thing is people are like, oh, why can't that class have fun by itself? It's like, well, it's almost a zero-sum game of happiness to some degree for players, where they're like, well, that one's really good and I'm not that one. So there's like 25 plus other specs that are just, they're not happy about it. So it becomes this thing where we want to make people as happy as we possibly can playing a game that we all adore and have a ton of fun with. So we just want people to have fun too. So we're not looking for like balance where everything's even. It's more so, can everything be played and feel like it's doing well inside of the raid? So that's really what our bar is here.
Yeah, next question is, do you guys have any plans to make the legendary quest a little more, alt-friendly?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of those things when we talk about, you just called on it, alt-friendliness. We were looking at Mists of Pandaria Classic as we were developing it. We were thinking about the original MoP, how it was received, certainly talking with players about their own perception of it and particular pain points. And alt-friendliness was a big potential opportunity for us. In a lot of ways. And the feedback that we heard about, well, if I don't have this character or this alt right from the start, I'm never going to be able to catch up. I'm never going to be able to get my legendary. And so really a lot of our changes have been spent on specifically attacking that and saying that, hey, you can roll alts and you can catch up way faster with those alts than you could back in the original. And then same thing as well for, let's say someone misses the launch and they just jump in a little bit after. They should be able to catch up and be able to get that legendary. One of the ways that we've done that is in our new Celestial Dungeon difficulty system, which is really built on top of everything we have learned from what players have called Heroic Plus since Wrath Classic, and then in our Elemental Rune Dungeons, in Cataclysm Classic, and now in Mists of Pandaria Classic, our Celestial Dungeons. And having the opportunity for players to be able to continue that quest line outside of just the raids. So let's say we move on to the next raid tier and someone missed it, and now that's no longer the most relevant content. They will have another avenue to be able to continue that quest line. This is one of those examples of the way that they would be able to do it.
Are you guys allowed to give us any information about Heart or Terrace on it releasing, or a timeline on vaults, like a 4-week timeline, 5, 6, 7? Pretty please.
Yeah, so we've announced the unlock for Mogushon vaults, but as you mentioned, not Heart of Fear and not Terrace of Endless Spring yet. Nothing to announce on that front today, but I will note we have been very inspired by the original cadence of the original Mists of Pandaria. Talking with the original developers who are still here at Blizzard, and their thoughts on it and their thoughts on how it was received, and then talking with players as well. One of the top performing factors of that original expansion was how well it paced it was in terms of its content.
Yeah.
When we talk about how we want to pace this expansion versus other classic expansions, the last couple in particular, we were able to move way faster than the original team did as far as releasing the content and as far as the distance between the major patches. I don't think there is any world where we could go much faster than what the original team did for the original Mists of Pandaria. Okay. I am not saying it's impossible, and I'm not saying that similar to bringing in, let's say, Molten Front early in Cataclysm Classic, we couldn't find opportunities like that if it made sense without overloading the player base. But as far as the timing of everything, we have been very inspired by how the original team did it. And that's kind of been our baseline for this as well. Not saying that we won't make changes, not saying that we won't, play around with the timeline a little bit, but that's kind of where we've been starting from.
Okay, we're trying to keep the raids the same, because that means there's probably not a possibility to see some flexible raid lockouts or anything modern like retail has?
Very unlikely. When we talk about something like flex rating and the way that it was implemented in the original Mists of Pandaria, it was actually like a proto version of what the modern version of it is. And sometimes players get confused about that, or they don't remember how it existed back in the original Mists of Pandaria, with it essentially being like its own difficulty level. And so no plans to bring that in, or it's unlikely to bring that in certainly earlier in the expansion. We've been focused more on the celestial dungeon difficulty, and then making sure that the normal and heroic raids are the best possible versions of them that they can be.
Okay. About those celestial raids, what's the most exciting thing about it, or what can you tell us about it that you're just, maybe we don't know about it that you want us to find out, but maybe hint about, or something cool about it? Because you guys are really excited about those. That's where we are too, obviously.
So I'm really excited about the fact that we're making it so that the progression that you have on your main can help fuel your alts. The way that players play nowadays is, when they have a character that they've completely decked out, and it does happen a little bit sooner in Classic because people are killing raids very early on, right? You're not seeing like months of progression to kill heroic bosses or final bosses. People are, the strategies. So people get geared a little bit faster. So we're like, okay, let's help you along with that. And then let's also get you on more characters if you want more characters. Whereas original Mists of Pandaria, things like Reputations, Valor, Conquest, Elder Charms of Good Fortune, all these things for alts, we've really shored up. And then for the August Stone Fragments, the currency that drops inside of Celestial Dungeons, we do have a way for you to transfer it once we have all the raids of a tier are out. We'll allow you to transfer that currency to alts, and also allow them to purchase things like Lesser Charms of Good Fortune. So you could just play your main purely and get Raid Finder gear on your alt and get it ready for raids, and also get it Charms of Good Fortune. So I'm really excited about that.
Talk about alt friendly. Jeez, that's nice.
Yeah. Well, that's how players play nowadays, right?
Yeah.
They aren't really as dedicated to a singular class or play or like a character. People are like, oh, I'm Crix W, I'm Crix P for like your priest.
Each of their classes.
So yeah. Exactly. So we want to enable that as much as possible. You're still allowed to play one character and keep going with that, but we do find that people really like to play multiple characters. We want to enable
it's keeping
that.
me in there. I've been playing Classic obviously for a while, but I've pretty much only been a Warlock and a Shadow Priest, and now I've took a break like 9 months ago, came back and been getting ready for MoP on like a bunch of characters, and it's been fun. And now I'm learning about all this alt friendly stuff, and it makes it more exciting because like having to do a lot of work on your alt, that's not going to make you want to play, and then so I think it's great.
Oh, I was going to add, Aiden talked so much about it already. There's not too much to add other than, we love how these have kept dungeons relevant throughout the life of the expansion as well. It's just a phenomenal opportunity for us back when we implemented the original version of this back in Wrath Classic. But it's also a great opportunity too for, let's say, less experienced World of Warcraft players to come in and kind of use these as a stepping stone towards engaging with the raids themselves. I don't know if we mentioned it already, but I think we put it out there in a blue post that these Celestial Dungeons will see some of the bosses make an appearance. Some of the bosses from the raids make an appearance with their mechanics as well. And our hope is, it'll kind of help train some of the players who haven't experienced some of the raids before to learn some of those mechanics, and again, kind of provide a stepping stone or build a bridge towards engaging with the raids.
Sick. That's pretty fun.
Yeah.
Like
the other thing I really like about it, just to add on another thing, is that when we look at how people progress through a game, having the normal difficulty into heroic, into doing like Raid Finder, into doing normal and then heroic for the raids, eventually that starts to break down a little bit the further you get into the expansion, where you go normal, heroic. Okay, I have the heroic gear. How do I get to the Raid Finder difficulty here? And then how do I get to normal from there? Because even if you do Raid Finder, you're only getting so much loot every week. Whereas Celestial Dungeons, what they do is they're going to get you that Celestial gear or the Raid Finder gear regularly at your own pace, as much as you want to gear that character. And there's no limitation on how much you can actually gear it out. So this will allow people to get and bridge that heroic to getting into normal raids a little bit easier and at their own pace later in the expansion, because it's also going to keep people in that 5-man content, because things like heroics, they do start to dry up towards the end of the expansion, the 5-man heroics. We've seen it in like Wrath, and we've seen it in like TBC and stuff before we had these types of mechanics. So this really does filter people or push them towards doing 5-man content, allowing new players to kind of piggyback on that, and also allowing them to have that cleaner transition. Because I can't tell you how many times I've played a game and I've been like, well, what do I do next? And this is a very clear, this is what you do next, and you can do as much of it as you want until you're ready for normal raids.
Yeah, I got my buddy, it's a good friend of mine who started playing PC gaming, and we grew up together. He's never played WoW, but he's know that I have, and he's starting to learn now, and I had to go through retail, classic, or different things to find which one he likes, and it was Kata. But it's like that where you say he doesn't know what he's like. Well, I don't even know what I would be doing if you're not here. Like it's like so that's gonna be really really helpful. I like that. Have you guys spoke about the difficulty of the Celestials?
We've talked a little bit about them.
Okay.
We are not making them like a challenge, right?
Yeah.
That's what challenge modes are for, is for you to push that artificial difficulty of a timer against other people. So these are only slightly buffed up, and the players get stronger too alongside it. We give you things from the Celestials where you can pick which Celestial you want to support you. So it is like we're trying to add some fun factor with the Celestials to kind of break up the monotony of you're doing heroics again. But throw in things like the bosses are going to have extra bosses from like Heart of Fear come in. So we really think that we're just trying to spice it up as much as possible without it being more difficult. Because we've seen what a more difficult version of this looks like with Protocol Alpha at the very beginning, where people were really struggling with that. And we took that feedback and we're like, okay, let's do beta. Let's give you some things to beat these alpha mechanics. And then that seemed to really take off and has kind of shaped our mentality for how we make these in the future.
I know Throne of Thunders is quite a ways away, but if you guys haven't talked about any plans or making any changes towards the Titan Forging system or Thunder Forging system, sorry.
So at the time we have discussed about the system because we know it's one that people feel is really random. So we are having talks about if we want to do something about it, what we could potentially do about it, because we obviously want to stay true to Mists of Pandaria, but we also want to have an experience that is good for the contemporary player. And if they don't like going and doing this thing where it's RNG for them, well, that might be frustrating. And if we want to serve our players well, we want to listen to them. So we're still thinking about it. We are looking into it and figuring out what might look best for Thunderforging.
How do you guys go about a decision like that, where it's like you guys have that true traditional Blizzard Warcraft belief of the thing versus like a bunch of people wanting something else, but it's just they have a different mindset. How do you guys go about like that battle? That's gotta be rough.
We really do monitor our community and the feedback that we get from it. We also talk to original devs that worked on Mists of Pandaria, because luckily enough, some of them still work here. Yeah. So we were able to pick their brain on like, why was this a system? Did this actually achieve what it was supposed to achieve? If you could have done this differently, what would you have done? And so these are always conversations that we bring up to try and attack things from, or not even attack, just get as much knowledge as possible before we make a decision, because there might be things that we're missing. And that's one of the things we don't want to do. We don't want to have these cracks where we're like, well, we didn't really think of that for Thunderforging or Titan Forging or anything like that. So we want to be as complete as possible in our research, and that's why we're still discussing if we want to do something about it.
Okay, a couple more questions. One more before I ask a couple PvP questions, if you don't mind. Big shot in the dark here. Pretty much know what I'm going to get, but can you speak on anything about the future of Classic outside of, maybe is there some Era server stuff, some WAD Classic, cooking up? Classic Plus that everyone thinks is cooking up? Anything at all? Any tea to spill, gentlemen?
We love the question. It's we're certainly extremely excited about the future of Classic and everywhere we're going. I can confidently say that at the moment we are hyper focused on making sure we can deliver the best version of Mists of Pandaria Classic that we can. That is where a lot of our time and our effort is going to right now. We of course are always working on something else, and something else that we're excited about. We've announced, of course, that our anniversary realms will transition to TBC anniversary, and there's a lot of excitement around that and returning to TBC. This will be the first time since we launched it back in 2021, I want to say, that players will have the chance to go back there. And we know a lot of players missed out on that opportunity, so certainly excited for that, and of course all of these remaining phases that we have to go through from Mists of Pandaria Classic.
All I have to say is, and you don't have to say yes or no, but just go ahead and bring these balance changes into TBC, okay? You can just go ahead and keep on moving in there. As a Warlock, I'm not trying to spam Shadow Bolts. You don't have to say anything, I'm just saying, okay?
Well, I do want to say something about that, like to even just kind of go where you want to go here is, even when TBC originally came about, we already did a balance change of adding Seal of Blood to Retribution Paladins on both sides, because otherwise Alliance Paladins wouldn't have been able to play Retribution to the same degree that Horde ones would have. So those are things that we originally started off with being like, this is very clearly something that players do not like, that feels really restrictive. And so that's like the type of thing we wanted to tackle before. And as we've figured that players actually are pretty welcome to changes as long as they're thoughtful and they seem like they're attacking the correct problem, We're always open to things like that, where if there is some kind of problem, we'll want to discuss it. So we're always listening to our players here.
Yeah, I think they also had, like, you know how there was that big no changes meta back when we went through the whole original. I think they feels like people are more okay with stuff because we went through all right, thank you for the pretty much no changes, and now they're like, all right. So hopefully this MoP, these balance changes
even
MoP
then
could go good too. Go ahead.
Even then, like Chrono Boon was thrown in, right? That didn't exist before.
Oh, I love that thing so much. Game changer.
Yeah, exactly. But we want to make changes that our players that's the response that they give us.
Okay, I got one. You ready?
Yeah, even right before we just did the Classic Anniversary relaunch in November of last year, we announced it. We released it 1 week later, and in that 1 week period, we announced a few changes coming to it. It was instant mail, removal of
dual spec,
and dual spec, and even then, our intent was, hey, we're going to do that 2019 experience. There's a whole lot of players who are asking us for it, Classic Fresh. But even then, with those little changes, gosh, the response to that and the excitement around just those few things coming in, it far exceeded my expectations, including the response to the realm and having players jump in there.
One more question before we close away then. Ever think about more PvP wise as well? Do you ever think about removing some rating requirement on the gear for barrier of entry? Because I know a lot of players love MoP and specifically MoP PvP as well. Can feel kind of daunting trying to obtain those higher pieces if they start later on an alt or something,
That is a good question. I think, gosh, there's a lot to balance there. We want players to get into the content and we want them to have a good time and we want to make sure that they're set up to do so. So I don't know. I think it's something we could continue to discuss internally. I think that we've changed requirements in the past for things like random dungeon finder, where it felt like something was slightly off as far as what the requirements were for you to participate in the content. So I know it's certainly something that we're open to discussing and probably just something that we're going to look out for as we move forward.
Well, that's all I have for you guys. If you guys want to close with something that you want to say to the community, each of you, anything you want to tell the players leading up to the launch in a few days?
Yeah, just that, it's the response to all of the changes that we're bringing to Mists of Pandaria Classic has been incredible. I wasn't working for Blizzard back when the original MoP was announced to be here for the reaction to it and the lead-in and everything like that, but we've known in the time since just how beloved this expansion is. And again, if we were going to bring this to players, why not make it the best version of MoP Classic that we can? And so the feedback that we've received on all these changes has just been awesome. And we continued to make minor adjustments as we got closer and closer and closer to pre-patch. But there's so much in there that we haven't even discussed today. With the Toma flying, allowing you to fly on alts right away. We talked about the Celestial dungeons and how that'll impact players and their alts. The changes made to reputations and reducing the grind and making the rewards from the rep grind slightly more accessible. The commendation system coming in earlier. The changes that were made to PvP and putting back in rank 1 titles in Gladiator to 2s and 5s. Addressing the pre-poll shenanigans, as players have called them, and so much effort by Aiden and the team that has gone into that as well. There's really a lot there, and we're very excited to continue discussing with the community about more things that they might want to see. But I think we're really putting our best foot forward when it comes to this expansion, on top of all of the content that is already so great as it is. From the zones and the music to the Pandaren race to the monk class to the raids to the dungeons, so much of it we're incredibly fortunate because so much of the foundation is so solid already that really a lot of our efforts just came to, okay, well, how do we elevate it even further?
Make it better.
And it's been awesome to see the team tackle that.
Yeah, I got thrown off a little bit on the previous question, Crix, where you were asking about rating. Because to my knowledge, we don't have that anymore right now. I believe you can get your full malevolent. I believe you can get your full malevolent PvP gear without having any rating requirement. And what we did as well with the weapon is we made that once you get the rating to get the weapon, it's just a cosmetic upgrade, and the basic weapon is now 483 item level instead of 470, and the elite weapon is not 490 anymore. It is also 483.
Cool. Did you guys change that yourself? That's new.
Yes.
Oh, cool.
And I will say on top of that if if I am wrong right now and there is rating requirement for it, I don't think we want that. I think that we would want to change that.
Cool.
So we want rating to just be a cosmetic thing when it comes to the arenas. And that's really our focus for it, is you shouldn't have to hit a certain rating to compete with people who already hit a certain rating, because it doubles down on if they're better than you and they hit a higher rating, now they're better than you in gear and in skill, and it becomes almost an insurmountable thing. So
which makes it quick.
It's definitely a mentality from like season 13, 14, 15 that we wanted to adopt.
I'm so happy you doubled back to that, because I definitely misheard the question as well.
I was just gonna let it right out. I was like, yeah, it's okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much for the question. Yeah, that's all I have for you guys. Zirene, did you want to say anything to the everybody or the community? You know, you're the fan favorite. You're in there, all the Discords. Big C, you have your own roles and everything.
Yeah. So I appreciate everybody's feedback. It is so important to us to be able to listen to our players and to communicate with them. So when we are engaged with in a really like thoughtful manner, when people come to us with problems that seem like they're core to the experience that they're having, we absolutely adore that. So keep giving your feedback, keep helping us make Mists of Pandaria the game that you want it to be, because we're really the curators of Classic, and it's you guys' game. It's your game. We just take care of it.
I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much. I know that I'm having a blast. I've heard overwhelmingly positive, more than negative about this. So, you know, fingers crossed. Thank you guys so much, gentlemen.
Thank you, Crix.
Thanks, Crix.